Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me, my books, and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com as well as on Amazon. I have another announcement. Please notify the Attorney General in your state regarding solar panels made by Sonova Generac Systems. If you're having any difficulty with this company, fill out the form on your Attorney General's site in your state. I have a return guest. I'm happy to have Natalia Dalton back on. She was last on season 3, episode 26, and season 3, episode 144, where we had talked with Natalia, Francesca Amato, and Hannah Morris, and we discussed Natalia's case and why having an ADA advocate is highly beneficial. And today, Natalia is going to update us on her case. So I welcome you back, Natalia. How are things going?
So I guess right now I'm doing 3 filings in the court. One is I got accepted for a job, but without my passport, I cannot go forward with that job. So that's what I'm filing now. And like an emergency hearing in Fairfax to release my passport, and then I'm also filing a complaint against DCSE here in Fairfax for I don't know if you remember my problems with the arrears that I've told you about over the years.
Mhm.
So I filed a complaint, which actually I'm going to file this week, and the federal court, and that complaint is basically I did find out that they used the income of a job that my ex made.
Oh,
So now I have proof of that. So I can fight the case and say that, I've never earned this income and I've never worked at this job. So,
right.
and the sad part about the whole thing is this could have been dealt with 9 years ago, but they violated my due process rights. If, I've been asking them for the last 9 years for my FOIL request, and not until last year, not until like a few months ago, did they finally send me a FOIL request after they jacked up all my arrears to the point where here in Virginia, you're not allowed to contest arrears. There's a law that does not let you go back on arrears. So basically, the parents here, if there's a mistake in your arrears, you can't even fix it. There is no constitutional law or anything to help parents who get stuck in arrears.
Oh,
And
that's
so
terrible.
it's horrible. And then I'm finding out now that, which I do like the fact that they have this Dodge going on.
Don't.
I think it would be beneficial if they would help um, if they would investigate DCSC, because I'm not the only person with mistakes in their arrears. There's other parents, even in the same office, that are suffering the same situation as me. And so what happened is they, I believe that I've learned that through defunding, if they can show more parents are in arrears, the more it's like more of an incentive to get more money from the government.
Hmm.
And so the more cases they can show that a parent is in arrears, it's to their benefit. So why would they even try to fix your arrears? I remember over the years, I've filed many appeals and I said that they don't have the right income. Of course, I didn't have the information that I have now. I kept asking them, how did they come up with that income? Um, they always said they didn't know, or the father gave it to them, or they're the DCSE and they have ways of finding out, but nothing added up, right?
Right.
Every time I tried to show them over the years my W-2s or my pay stubs, there was even a time during I lost my job and I was on a 1099, so there's no way they could have found out how much I actually made. The year that they imputed my income, I was on a 1099. So for them to go back and try to use an income when I had custody of my son didn't make any sense. It should go. And then I found out doing my research that there are laws even in the guidelines for child support, that they're supposed to actually look at your income before to prevent these arrears from happening. And in my case, they totally did everything outside the book, made their own rules, made their own assumptions, never looked at my income, never granted my appeals. So Maryann, this could have been fixed years ago. Now I'm 9 years later, $25,000 a year. The father is trying and is asking in the court. So I was supposed to have a hearing this March 27th, which is coming up. It was the appeals case on child support. But what happened is a year ago, I managed to get that case removed from the state court into the federal.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so for the last year, I've been in federal court.
Okay.
I understand there's a 1% chance that you can win in federal. But basically, I was trying to tell the courts in federal that I will never get a fair and just trial in any state or county court in Virginia. Because it's true. Mm-hmm. You've seen how my custody case has gone. I don't even see my son. Right? And you've seen how the child support goes. I mean, they don't even look at facts. I mean, or evidence. It's like they don't even respect me as a parent and my rights in this state. So I'm still pending in the federal court. I'm actually in the United States Supreme Court. And now I'm asking the court to issue a stay because I have to exhaust all my federal, appeal first before anything can happen in state. So hopefully that's going to be granted this week before the hearing. Of course, the father wants these hearings because what does he want? All he wants is me to go to jail or pay him more money.
Right.
He doesn't care about the fact that he knows I don't make that kind of money. I mean, it's not about that. It's about keeping this mother away from her son.
And he has done that because you told us on other podcasts that he has denied every supervisor that was given, and he found some reason to weasel his way out of denying you a supervised visit with your son, which is a case of parental alienation. So he's doing that, which is child psychological abuse. He's running this courtroom like a three-ring circus like mine did.
Exactly. And the problem is the judge actually gave him so many rights on the order. I mean, my order is so insane. I can't get a birthday with my son. I can't get a Christmas holiday. There's completely no summer vacations with my son. And I was put on I know this is more about child support, but I was put on supervised visitation not because I'm a bad mother. It's because I reported abuse. Right. And I reported stuff that could be is factual, but the courts decided they didn't want to entertain that or listen to the evidence or the witnesses or anything. Mm-hmm. So it's like almost like a gag order to basically alienate me from my son, and so that my son can't report anything to me, and it's bad for both of us, and there was no reason for it. I even went to jail for reporting that abuse, but it's just it's insanity what has happened in my case. My son is now 17 years old. He'll be 18 in a year, and I'm almost glad that this is almost over. Yeah. I feel so sad over the whole all the times I've gone into court fighting for my son. I really hope that one day he can see all these videos and say, "Look, my mom never gave up. She kept trying,
and she fought hard." Yeah, you're a good mom. You have not let up on their corruption.
Yeah, I say, "Oh, don't worry. When your son turns 18, he'll come look for you." But let's be honest here, Maryann. I mean, I know in your situation, look, your kids are even past 18 they've been brainwashed. And do they really, I'm hoping that I will have that, my son will want to have a relationship with me, but that once they've been apart, that really Is it really that they're going to say, "Oh yeah, everything my dad's been telling me or my parents been telling me about my mother for the last so many years"? Is it, I would hope that they would say, "Hey, let me." It's two sides to every story, but
Mhm.
I mean, unfortunately, not all kids see that.
Oh, it's just so maddening that he has done this. He's psychologically abused your child and the judges don't care. And you don't even know where your son is.
That's correct. I don't even know where my son is. So
So then
the last
why
time
pay child support? If you,
I know,
uh,
I know there's a law that I put into the case. It says Morgan versus Morgan. And if there's custodial interference in that state,
uh,
you don't even have to pay child support. Um,
right?
have you ever
Because,
have you ever heard of that case?
oh yes, Morgan versus Morgan, that came about in New York State, not federal, but in state. And that came around February 1st of 2024. And the father was saying that the mother was keeping him away from the kids and with the alienating behaviors. And they suspended his child support, which I think this is what they should do in your case. And I think they should also wipe away the arrears because none of this should have happened to begin with. And this is what, are you still with Judge Lisa Kemmler?
So, okay, so that's a different case. So now I'm about to file. That one's on custody. So everything that with child support is in Fairfax. It's a different judge. But yeah, with Kemmler, which I tell you the good news? She's about to retire.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, but anyways, but the thing is, yeah, she's still the presiding judge. I mean, I
What
don't
a
have an
mess.
open case with her at the moment, but I am planning on filing what they call a writ of mandamus,
Mhm.
because she illegally blocked me, for filing, and the supervised visitation, it doesn't even work. I mean, my son is 17 now, and the father uses that as a leverage to keep me away from my son. So there's no point in keeping that, right?
Right. And
And
also, I mean, Judge Lisa Kemmler is also acquiescing to child psychological abuse. So,
exactly.
really, I mean, your ex and Judge Lisa Kemmler should have to answer to CPS, or actually, well,
That's true. Yeah, so a lot of times, I sit there and blame my ex for everything that he does, but the courts had a responsibility to protect my son, and they didn't even do their job. I
right.
mean, not looking at the evidence and everything, they're just as much to blame. I mean, my ex's character is it's this is like, this was obvious that he was going to act this way based on narcissistic traits, right? Um,
Right. Right.
but her, she it was her duty as a judge to look at the evidence and be impartial and listen to everything, both sides. And you could tell that she was just completely biased and just like, um. So yeah, it's been a nightmare, to be honest.
Yes.
Um, So yeah, for everything in my life, Maryann, has been a challenge the last 9 years. If it's not seeing my son getting a job, because now I got to petition the court for a passport, or the same with my driver's license. Everything has been a challenge. There's nothing,
Mhm.
even get a simple visit every 2 weeks to hear no, and to know that a parent has that much rights. And what for? I mean, is this the way the courts rule nowadays? I mean, it's like,
Uh-huh.
what about shared parenting, and the my son has the right to love his mom and his dad. I mean, you just took a loving mother out of his life for what? I mean, it doesn't make it nothing in my and over the years, and in the podcasts that I've done, and your shows and others. The journalist Michael Volpe's written my stories. I mean, it's just none of it makes sense how they took my son from me. And then I was what you call the co-parenting. I believed in co-parenting, and I believed in shared. Would not be like, even if he lived with me, he would be seeing his father. I am
Mhm.
not. I would not act the way his dad acts towards me.
Well, because you're not a personality disorder and he is.
Yeah. I mean, it's insanity.
Oh,
Uh, I just have to say that I'm very happy that this is almost over.
hmm
I'm just, I'm just scared of like, all the healing that we're going to have to do, because I'm sure there's a lot of damage, emotional damage there, not from me. I mean, but I mean, what does my son believe? He hasn't had any contact with me for about 4 years. So what is going on in his head? I even asked myself, does he miss me? He can't even express in his house if he misses me. If he wants to talk to me, I'm sure his dad and they were saying, no, you can't call her. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on in that house, and it's
right,
very depressing.
right. Oh, I can't imagine the false narratives and these lies that they are telling him, brainwashing him. We don't know. But I think also one of the main points is you don't even know where he is. You have a right to know where your child is, especially if you're paying child support.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't even know where he is, what school he's in. The last I heard is that his dad withdrew him from the school, and he's
Mhm.
supposed to notify me. For all I know, he's sitting at home. He's not even in school. So I'm hoping that this next motion will help me with that, because that's really important. I mean, I want to be able to go to my son's graduation. What parent wouldn't want to go to that?
Right.
That's a very important moment in his life.
I don't know what these judges are thinking, because they couldn't tell your ex was a personality disorder when he was running their courtroom on our taxpayer dollars.
I
I,
mean, if Maryann, if you were in that courtroom, any reasonable judge who saw the way that he was talking, there's like no way they couldn't pick up, this mother. I only want this mother to see this child one time a month. I want to be the one in control of this, of my son. I mean, everything that he was spitting out of his mouth was just like any judge that was reasonable could see what was going on here.
right.
You have me on the stand saying I want to co-parent with his father if he wants an extra weekend.
hmm
I'm the one who sounded reasonable, like working with the parent. The one who was eliminating me out of my life was the one that the judge was entertaining. It didn't make any sense.
And the thing is, now you were featured in my book as chapter 6 in Raised by These Wolves, Child Trafficking Within the Foster Care and Court Systems. So here's a picture of you. Now, when
And
it's darling, when you met him, he was giving you flowers every day and being wonderful, Mr. Wonderful. And then when you started living with him, his true colors came out, including abusive behaviors with a terrible temper. He became very controlling, degrading Natalia, that nothing she did was ever good enough for him. If Natalia didn't do things his way, he would yell at her and throw things. Wow, sounds like somebody I know too. Natalia dealt with these behaviors for a few years, walking on eggshells. She also kept a journal of all these incidents, and she remembers them as if they were yesterday. And Natalia's story is in here. And, it's good to know how you met him and how he treated you and how he entered your life like a snake. And he's doing that to the
exactly,
judges.
exactly. But you know what I don't understand, Marianne, is that he got involved with a woman after me, right? And she works for the State Department, and she seems like a bright woman, right? But why would you go have kids more with a parent who was keeping the child away from the other from the mother? I mean,
Big,
I
big red
remember
flag.
when I first found out about this woman. She had these things on Twitter about abuse. She was advocating for abuse. She seemed like one of those women that were like, I don't know if something happened in her life or if her family or somebody was abusive. but she was so into women and abuse. And then she goes and gets involved with one. And then she goes and has two more kids. I mean, to me, that would have been a red flag. If a parent is keeping their child away from, what's to say that he won't do the same thing to her,
Bingo.
when they separate. And, a reason I left this guy wasn't because he was wonderful. He was narcissistic and he was abusive to me. I mean, if he was so great, I probably would have had more kids with him. But
Hmm.
the way he treated me, and for her to never want to hear my side of the story, and then entertain him and try to, and now that she's in my son's full time life, not try to advocate for my son to see his mother, is very concerning to me because she doesn't know my side of the story. She
Right.
doesn't. I mean, she got a copy. So let me tell you this. When I filed that, let me tell you, when I filed the package in the federal court, I put my diary in there. So all these abuse incidents, I actually gave it to the federal court, and I had to give them a copy. So in that copy, it talks about everything my ex did to me and my child. I'm sure at one point that she must have read it. I mean, I can't
I
imagine
hope.
that he would have kept it from her. I mean, I'm, and she, what did she think? I made up those stories? I mean, I remember my son, I'm going to tell you this. I remember my son telling me in phone calls, and that, oh, mommy, daddy's doing something to the mom, to the stepmom. She's crying. She's this. I have
Mhm.
recordings on that. So it's not like he changed and he became Mr. Sweetheart. I mean, come on, let's be realistic here. Do these people change in the next relationship?
No. In fact, another fun fact is when I was a nurse, I was telling another nurse, what was going on in my story, and she said, I'm going to tell you what, I am a second wife. I said, oh, really? And she says, what he did to the first wife, he's doing to me. So that's why
Exactly.
she's not going to leave him. She's too scared to leave him. She's going to also acquiesce to child psychological abuse on your son. So she's also an abuser. I don't know if she knows that.
Yeah, because me, anybody with common sense or I would see that as a red flag, from the get go. Why would I go have two kids? And then to actually feed into all that, because you know how they say the narcissistic personality, they actually, what do they do with the next person? They kind of like, what is that word? What am I thinking of?
Uh, um,
Like oh, I can't think of the word now. There's a word like where they play the victim, and then they is it gaslight,
yes,
or they is it those words?
yes.
Like he just told a story like he does to everybody, and they just believe it. I mean, is that true? They would actually believe it?
They're that stupid. Yes, even these judges. My ex schmoozed his way into that courtroom. Everyone knows my story, but I'm just saying they're so convincing. They should get Oscar awards.
I just, it doesn't make any sense to me because somebody with common sense would be like, okay, there's something off about this. You know, um, you know, I mean, she should have said, hey, you know what? Is this really, based on her own experiences? She should be like, well, maybe it's not exactly what he's telling me about the other mother. Um, there's two sides to every story, and I think what hurts me the most is that when she became a mother to her two kids, I thought, maybe she will eventually advocate for my son and do the right thing,
We
help
thought
him.
that. We thought that.
Um, and like, but I don't know. Is it possible that she's just as same as him? I don't know.
Maybe she got brainwashed also. We don't know what he's told her either.
But is she like an empath, or what do you call it?
Empath?
Empath
I don't know if she's
or
an empath. You know what? If she was an empath, you would be seeing your son. So she is, I don't know what she is. I'm not a psychiatrist to diagnose,
I
but
know. I know.
she's also a personality disorder, just like your ex. For to go along with this for this long. Mm,
Yeah. And I mean, she should put herself in, like, I guess, in the situation in my own son's place, like, oh, is this the right thing to do? What if it was the other way around with her kids? You know what I mean? I don't know. You got to always take yourself out of the scenario and put it. She can be very nice to my son, but he has a mother. He
right.
does. You know, um, and basically you entertained the ex and just created this whole scenario, and you yourself actually hurt the child as well.
Hmm.
I don't know. There's that syndrome that I was reading about. What is it called? Stockholm syndrome. I
Right.
don't know like
Stockholm's.
much
Oh
of
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's
So
fascinating. That's fascinating. That obviously took place in Sweden, Stockholm, Sweden. There was a bank robbery, and they called this guy in who was a criminal, and they wanted him to get these hostages out of there. And uh, they actually had a Netflix show on this. I'm trying to think of the fellow's name. Hang on. But he went in there and he just schmoozed these people that were being held hostage, and they were reciprocating back out of fear. But then it turned into something that really wasn't fear. I'm trying to think of his name. Uh, I can tell you in a brief second. Okay. Um, okay. Oh, and it's a short name too. He has a short name. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, Olson, Jan Eric. In 1973, I'm getting this off of Wikipedia. Jan,
yeah,
1973,
okay.
Jan Eric Olson, Olsson, a convict on parole, took four employees, three women and one man, one of the largest banks in Stockholm, Sweden, hostage during a failed bank robbery. He negotiated the release from prison of his friend, Clark Olofsson. Yes. Okay. So the Netflix show is called Clark. And I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but that totally shows you what happened throughout his whole life. And so this Clark assisted him, and they held the hostages captive for 6 days from August 23rd to August 28th in like one of these big bank vaults. And they show this in the Netflix show. And when the hostages were released, none of them would testify against either captor in the court of Sweden. Instead, they began raising money for their defense. And this is what is going on with our kids when these child psychological abusers are brainwashing them, schmoozing them, buying them cars, and then they just go to their, I don't know, alleged rescuer. Does that make sense? I'm
I
just,
do.
uh,
So Maryann, I'm hoping that these next three things that I'm filing, I'm hoping that the Supreme Court case, the next federal case, and the one in Fairfax, I'm really hoping that I will finally get justice. After 9 years, I'm hoping that this will be the last straw for me to get access to my son, because this has been, very upsetting, very depressing. I never gave up on my son, and I love him very much, and that's why I'm doing all these podcasts, because I want him to know that his mom will never stop fighting for him, and that she loves him, and she wished that he could see everything on video, and he could he could just see, just check the internet. Just there's ways of finding me. Um,
definitely.
I just um,
I
and
know.
that I love that I never forgot him.
Oh.
and that I would do everything to be a part of his life.
And this is how,
I don't mean to cry, but it's sad.
right, right. And this is how the father treats the mother of his child. This makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense
I'm so
because
sorry.
even though I remember what as much pain that he's abused that he did to me because he tried to choke me, he tried to throw me off the balcony, and Maryann, honestly, I was never a bad person to
Mm-mm.
him. He just had a narcissistic personality. Is very controlling. It's not that I instigated something to create his anger. I was actually very sweet to him
Hmm.
because they know what kind of victims they attract. They know that
Yes.
we're good people and that we have a good heart and that we're very loving and passionate, and we're not one of those people that will fight back, and we kind of like take in a lot of it. So they
Right.
know when they I'm very I'm almost positive the woman that he's with, she might have a lot of my characteristics, but I mean, not, you know what I mean, not the characteristic of not letting me see my son, that's
Yeah.
wrong. I mean the part of like the vulnerability, or something where he
Right.
can easily manipulate her.
Right, but she's still committing child psychological abuse. Okay,
I
so
know.
he has poor temper controls. He's got anger issues. He's oppositional defiant, and he manipulates with coercive control.
Not
Oh,
only that, he's not working. I mean, come on. The guy is not working. I mean, he's taking advantage of the women in his life. He did the same thing to me. He didn't work for a year when we were together. He lost his job and he didn't work, and I had to support him. It's like he repeats his pattern. But the only difference is that this woman makes way more money than me. So he's been able to do it for since 2017. She's supporting him. She doesn't realize it, that he's taking advantage of her. I mean,
yeah.
it's just I don't know. But the thing is, the whole situation is sad because I always believed in co-parenting, and even though he did a lot of mean things to me, I never was one of those parents of like, oh, I'm going to take what he did to me and just keep the father out of my son's life. No, I mean, my son had the right to love his dad just as much as he has the right to love me.
Right.
And
And you were the one that went to the court looking for or to have the father in your son's life. And then
exactly,
look where it got you.
exactly. And that's exactly what I did. I went in to make sure that we had equal parenting, shared everything. Yeah, there were some concerns with his behavior when he came back from his dad, but I did all that to help the situation. You know what I mean? But yeah, it doesn't matter what I did because it all backfired. So everything that I did good, um,
Yeah, I
it
mean,
just,
it's like no good deed goes unpunished. I guess my advice is let sleeping dogs lie.
yeah, it's very sad. It's very unfortunate that I missed so many years of my son's life and his milestones, because the courts decided to side with the alienating parent, and like you said, the psychological abuse. I mean, these are moments that I will never be able to take back. You know,
Hmm.
milestones that I mean, let's hope that my son one day finds somebody and has his own kids, and maybe I could be a part of that. But I couldn't be a part of the upbringing of my son, and I wanted to teach him my values as well. You
Hmm.
know, you know,
Well,
I
it's
and
not.
it's unfortunate that the courts never listened to me over the years.
Oh, it's egregious, and there was no justice, and they were either biased or the judge was getting paid off. Lisa Kemmler, I wonder if she was getting paid off.
Yeah, I do. I feel the same way. But I mean, I was told that she was not that great with her own daughter.
Oh,
So
oh my God.
My understanding that her ex was I mean, not her ex, I don't know if she's still married or not, to be honest, but that he was a stay home dad and he took care of the daughter and she was like one of those, you know, liberal
Oh,
business, we know people that,
oh, so so
so
so she's ticked that her spouse was staying home, and then this one here of yours, he's not working, so you should be working. I guess she has this in her brain, maybe. I think
yeah,
she, no,
exactly.
I
She,
think
I don't know.
Judge Lisa Kemmler needs a psychological evaluation. That's what she needs. Before retirement, I would like to know what's in that psychological evaluation. For her to be
Exactly, because
doing this to you
she
and
didn't
your
only do
son.
it to me. It's like, not only that, she has she's vindictive towards women, moms
Yes,
specifically. I don't
because
even understand how she defended Lorena Bobbitt. I don't understand that story. I think that was more about fame because I don't even think she believed the Lorena when Lorena Bobbitt was abused. She probably didn't even believe it
oh, well, there it
because
is.
I mean, she re-victimizes women.
Right.
I know four moms that she's taken custody and given it to the actual abuser. I mean, it's like that's how she runs her courtroom.
Ah,
She doesn't listen. She picks whoever side she wants to hear, and once she pre-decides a decision, she can't even say, you know what, I made a mistake or whatever. She had plenty of time to correct the errors that she made in this case. I mean,
ah.
it's just beyond sad. And to think that she's going to retire with a good pension, and she's going to. Anyways, there is
I
something
think,
else that I'm doing.
okay. Well, I was going to say, I think she should take that pension and divide it up between you and these four moms.
I agree.
Ah,
She should.
they got to do something with
I'm
that. So what else were you planning on?
I'm filing a complaint.
Mhm.
I don't know whether to say this on here, but I am filing a complaint against the judge. That because there's just she's done too much damage.
Right.
To too many parents.
Yes.
Um, I and two strong advocacy groups here in Virginia, and I've been court watching all these courts and what's going on, and we really don't need judges like this on the bench. You
Right.
know, we should have Dodge investigate everyone, everyone,
Right.
because it's just wrong.
So,
Um,
since you know these four other moms, can the four of you also, well, all of you write complaints up?
yeah, they have.
They have.
They have no right, and the one complaint that I'm doing, it's going to include their complaints. So yeah, that they have done that.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I think they should take away part of her pension, if not most of it, based on
exactly.
what you're complaining about. And yeah, I mean, it's okay to
You
say
know,
you're complaining.
to go to first of all, they signed her back into seat. On I don't know if you remember seeing that video that I sent on her
I think I don't.
reappointment.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was about six or seven of us parents speaking against her, and they still put her back on the bench.
Oh,
She would be on the bench only up until I don't know 9 years, and it's very strange that she's getting out after 3 or 4 years. I don't understand what that was about.
mm-mm.
Why would she be retiring earlier? I don't know. I have no
Oh, well,
idea.
maybe there was a complaint that went through and now she's retiring early because sometimes these judges do that. There'll be a big complaint and it's like either you leave maybe without your pension or you retire gracefully and you'll get
Yeah.
your pension. Okay, because I know of a judge this has happened to. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that one, but I'm just telling you that may have happened.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Is there any way you can look that up? I bet there's a way you can look up if there has been a complaint or if you can call. Virginia's Judicial Complaint Board. I don't know if there is, and if they'd tell
Yeah,
you.
I have no idea.
You have a right to know.
I would like to know. I mean, I would like to know, especially because she's hurt so many family, people.
Right.
And, the same time is she's the chief judge of the court, you
Oh,
know?
oh my God. How old is she?
I don't even know. I mean,
50s?
it's so funny because I went to this delegate who cheerleads for her. And she's like a cheerleader for her. And she represents Alexandria. And she hears me and many I've been up in front of the General Assembly speaking out against this judge and how she doesn't follow the law and there's no accountability in these judges' actions. And no matter how many times this delegate and Alexandria has seen me and she's seen me upset over this judge,
Mm-hmm.
the last time I spoke and I walked up to her, she goes, "Oh, um, just so she's retiring because she's of age. I don't know what age, but the woman had no consideration about, there was about two of us moms, complaining about the same judge. She had no heart to say, I'm sorry what happened to you. Let me see what I can do to help. Nothing. And she has the power to do something,
Right.
um, she could have done something, I mean, I've heard of delegates, and, getting involved in cases where they can actually tell a judge to get off the case. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean?
Right.
I have known other parents that's worked for. But like I said, she doesn't want to get involved. They're all friends. They're all buddy
Uh-huh.
buddy. And
Yeah,
that's the unfortunate part. It's called the Old Boys School Network here in Alexandria, Virginia.
right.
Everybody's to each other. Everybody knows each other. They all go out to dinner. They all, who knows? Maybe they take vacations together. I have no idea
I
what
think
goes.
they must because I mean she was appointed.
And you know what I find weird? I
Hmm.
found out that she actually got a reward. Oh, in 2024, she got like a award for best woman judge of the
Oh my
year or something.
God, help us, Jesus. Oh my God. You know what?
Joke?
I don't feel like eating for the rest of the day now after
I
hearing
don't
that.
either. I mean, what the hell?
Um,
Awarding somebody who ruins people's lives. I mean, come on, really? I
ah,
mean, I mean, and the thing is, she runs a some kind of medical clinic, like for children,
oh,
medication.
oh no. She should.
Myself, my poor son was on all this medication, and when I was advocating he shouldn't, they completely ignored me because maybe
Right.
she was hoping that one day my son would go to her institution or this place that she's. I don't know. It was in the video. I forgot what it was about, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not telling me her age. I've been scrolling around here trying to find her age. I don't know why they would hide her age. Very strange.
Yeah, yeah. The whole thing is
Oh
strange.
my God. Yeah, she was appointed by Governor Mark
Mark.
Warner in 2004, sworn in, unfortunately, on St. Patrick's Day of 2005.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Now, who would celebrate St. Patrick's Day knowing that, at least in 2005, of what she would become and do to other women? And also maybe due to other fit fathers. We don't know how many of them are out there that have gotten damaged.
Exactly. I don't even know all the cases. I've seen one case online, besides my, whatever is up with me, my stories. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's cases online where I think they even file lawsuits. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's she should have gotten reward of the year. That's just ridiculous.
Oh, it's disgusting.
It is. Um, and it's very painful because of her decisions. I son missed out on his with his mom. I mean, to give a father like that so much rights on an order is ridiculous.
Right.
Um,
He has literally
so,
run that courtroom, and you have fought so hard. And that's why I like having you on, because you are a fighter. I am so proud of you that you are going to all these perfect channels to do the right thing. You know,
yeah, and I'm even out here advocating for bills to be changed in Virginia. I mean, I'm part of that. My group, we meet with legislators to get bills changed here, to protect parents when they bring up abuse. Bills on the judges should be trained on abuse, which is, I mean, we say they should be trained on abuse, but let's be realistic here. Everybody can see a pattern of abuse on the stand. Come on.
right. All
When a
right.
parent, when a parent is sitting there saying, I want to basically eliminate this mother out of my child's life, that doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize what's going on here. You don't need
Right.
an expert to tell you that this is a narcissistic or abusive parent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they're very transparent when they're with their behavior.
Right.
Um, Still, for these bills to be passed, we have to say that we want these judges to be trained, because we want to make sure that we're following all the protocols. But what is even strange about Virginia, we tried to get a bill passed last year, and they were saying, "Oh no, asking a judge to be trained 20 hours is too much." So they dismissed the bill.
Oh, you
And then
know,
when I mean, that's ridiculous. This is a child's life that's being affected by these judges, and that's too much to ask. I mean, that's just insanity to me.
mhm. Right. And that's why, I've always said, give them lie detector tests, not the kid, the judge. Give them, psychological evals every 18 months for these judges, and absolutely do random drug screening on these judges. I mean, if people want to have family court and keep family court around, I personally would like to see it abolished because it serves no earthly purpose to any child or parent.
Exactly. And then, you have these judges or these people that are running the show or have so much power. Even as a therapist, when you're going to be a therapist, one of the things that they say to be a therapist is you're not supposed to bring your personal life into a therapy session. And I find that a lot of these judges take their own life scenarios and apply it to their decisions.
Hmm.
It's supposed to be impartial. It says that all over the judicial canon. The judges are supposed to be impartial. You're not supposed to take your scenario, your opinions, and that's another weird thing about here. I remember going to Mark Warner, and he said you should go to media, but the thing is, this whole thing about, I don't know about your state or other states, a judge can make an opinion as a ruling. Come on, really? These
Yeah.
are children's lives. Basically, when you give a judge that much power to make an opinion, you're basically saying, oh, we don't care how you rule. If you affect this parent's life, you just make the protocol. And then at least then you have these circus judges on the stand who are comparing to their own personal life, and they're not even being considerate to the all the evidence. They're siding with one side more than the other. They're pre-deciding they're only going to listen to one parent more than the other. How is that in the child's best interest? Why in the world do they even have the best interest of the child, the 10
Mhm.
things, if they're not going to even be able to, no, they're not going to even follow it with their opinion? What is the
Right.
point? What's the
Well,
point in having these laws if they're not even forced to follow them?
That's very true. That's very true. Bills get passed, but that doesn't mean the judge is going to follow that law or bill. And this is why they need psychological evals every 18 months. If they're putting their past childhood problems into your case, they need to go get help and get someone who is impartial and fair. And there are good judges out there. I had one.
Believe that. Actually, one of the judges who ruled in my child support case, he was actually a good judge. He lowered my child support, and he was pretty honest about the fact that there's no law in Virginia that allows the arrears to be. That's why I'm filing this lawsuit, because I want to see what I can do to change the law. Because, like I told you, a lot of parents are in arrear by a simple error or a miscalculation or
Oh,
putting a job that you didn't even work at as a job to impute. I mean, come on, those things could have been fixed from the beginning, and I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
right.
But anyway, so one of the bills that I would like to see passed in Virginia, and we've also been working with that Robert
Garza.
Gaza. Remember him?
Yep, Robert
Yeah,
Garza.
he's doing a great job as well. Sometimes he joins our group, but anyways, one of the bills that we would like, or I would like our team to work on, is one where you hold judges accountable for their actions.
Hmm.
Like a bill that forces them to follow the law, not be able to give their opinions.
Hmm.
Because once you give a judge the authority to give their opinions, then you basically screw the parents' lives, because they're not really following a law at this point. They're just doing it based on bias.
Right.
So we actually need a bill like that across the whole United States and probably Europe. And
Hmm.
I think that if we force a judge to follow the actual law and stick to the law, especially in these child custody and abuse cases, I think it would really it would eliminate a lot of the problems that we have now.
Right.
But also, like you said, Maryann, they need to do a better job at selecting people to be a judge.
Hmm. Hmm.
I mean, come on.
Well, I mean, not all of these judges, but most of these judges couldn't make it into private practice. So then what they did with their careers was go into becoming a lower level judge and proceed to destroy good fit parents. Not all of them, you know.
Yeah. I
Uh,
agree.
there's a few good ones out there that will do the right thing because I had one of them. And but for the most part, that's what if they can't get into a private practice, what the hell are they going to do? Become judges.
Or you know what? They should evaluate based on the judge's personality and background and experience. Should they really be handling child custody cases? I mean, come on. I think my judge would be the way she acts, maybe a criminal case. I mean, I don't know. I I don't know.
Wow. So, but she's retiring early. That's fascinating.
That's like the best news.
So
The
something
problem
must
is,
have happened. I'm
the
telling you,
problem
I'm
is,
telling you, someone must have filed a complaint for that to happen.
I think so too. I feel like they can sit there and say that she's retiring early because she wants to, or I'm not buying it. There's too many complaints against this judge, and me and many others have gone to the governor, and we've gone to um, the general attorney general. I mean, we've actually said a lot about the judge, and not just me, but other people I know. There's been a lot of complaints I know against her,
Hmm.
and but I don't think we'll ever find out. Kind of like they do stuff in this state, but they keep it hush hush.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Uh,
Whoever you talk to, I'm always opening up my big mouth. Always file a complaint on the judge on their behaviors. Or,
yeah,
I mean, you really
exactly.
can't do it on their ruling, but on their behaviors. How did they treat you? Did they, talk down to you? Did they say, don't look at me like that. You just look somewhere else. Don't look at me. I mean, come on. Everyone has to file these complaints.
My judge was a bully. I mean, what judge would say, "Don't come back in my courtroom without a lawyer"? And then after she made that threat, the father filed a show cause to eliminate more of my time with my son. And she says, either you come to this court this Friday to the hearing by yourself, after she warned me not to go back to her courtroom without a lawyer, or you are not going to see your son until the next visitation. And guess what she did? She suspended all my visitation with my son
Oh,
for until the next hearing.
she's a child psychological abuser. That is what she is. That's what she
God,
is.
really? I'll never forget that day.
Oh,
That was just, I couldn't believe that a judge would do that. And that was around the time that I was reporting the abuse stuff. So I wasn't even found guilty, or there was no verdict. There was nothing. There was not even a hearing. And and there's his attorney on the phone saying, "Well, the mom's trying to claim abuse." You would think a reasonable judge would be like, "Well, yeah, let me see the evidence here, right? I can't just assume that there's no abuse." But she treated me like if there was no abuse. And actually, in her courtroom, on her stand, she had the nerve to say, "Maryann, you should have been there that day. It would have been a great time to record that moment. I don't want to hear about abuse in my courtroom. If you're going to talk about abuse, get out." What
oh
kind
well,
of judge is that?
that's
Remember that?
perfect. I think you should put that in your complaint, in quotes. That's what she said.
That's how she rules in her courtroom.
Right, right. Yeah, judge, it could be a real simple complaint. I know they're a hassle to fill out, but you can just do bullet points. This is the problems I have had with this judge, in quotes, stated in this, whatever you just said, and then the date, and if you can remember the time you were in court, and just keep making these complaints, right? And then go have it notarized. That's even better. And then make a copy of that and send that to the judicial complaint board.
And then another time she said on a Zoom, "Oh, I don't believe this father's not letting you see your child." I had 3 years of evidence that she didn't want to see. I don't believe. Can you
No,
actually? She said,
yeah.
"I don't believe." And that's how she rules in her courtroom. I don't believe. Not even based on facts or evidence. I don't believe. So basically, I went 2 more years of not seeing my son because she did not want to believe.
So now she's caused you and your son to have a relationship dysfunctional problem.
I mean, this is just insanity.
It is. It
I mean,
is.
it's fun. It's unbelievable. I mean, how a court or anybody could allow somebody who rules like that be in charge of a court.
Right?
Uh,
Give them psychological evaluations or, the other thing, get rid of family court, put it down to civil where a parent can have a jury. Because if this judge can't think for themselves, I don't know, maybe the jury can.
well, I'll get this. Me and the father's never been married, right?
Mhm.
She purposely kept my case in circuit after the appeal and said that she wanted to be the presiding judge on my case. So she never remanded it back to JDR. So no matter how many times I asked the case to go back to family court, which was the more appropriate court, you know,
Mhm.
for parents that are not married and they're fighting, because in the circuit court the rules are a little bit more strict. You can only go if there's a material change in circumstance, or you have to have a lawyer. It's just a little bit harder to navigate. But for parents that are separated and they weren't even married, it's more appropriate the JDR court.
Mhm.
She would never let me take it back down to JDR. And when I would ask her why, she never had a reason. I remember even asking her why I was put on supervised visitation. You know what her response was? "Oh, because the father, said that you did." Because
Ah,
the father father is sitting there running this court with his lies, and you're just taking it at face value.
I
The
think,
reason the father is not letting me see my son is because he realized at the court he could just do whatever he wants. He's never held accountable. There's no punishment for whatever he does. So what does he care?
yeah, yeah. Um, Hopefully we can get Doge in here with these family courts, these lower level judges. I'm so sorry all this has happened to you, but I mean, you're trying to do something about it, get these bills passed. Maybe you should get a bill passed to have these judges get psychological evals every 18 months. Can someone do that?
Exactly. Well, what's even more sad is I put a case in federal court saying that I've never I my case was about I will never get a just and fair trial in any state or county court in the state of Virginia. It's because I honestly feel that way. After 9 years of nothing, look
Oh,
where I'm at today. It's not a joke to me. This is for real.
yeah,
I have gone to that court many times for justice and not gotten it. And for them to be like, oh yeah, I'll just send it back to state. I mean, that's just it's like, nobody cares that, I'm telling them that my fundamental right as a parent has been violated. That, this whole thing with this child support, I'm having to pay the father what, all this money that I never even earned. I mean,
right.
where is the justice and the system? Where is it?
I
You,
don't
you took
know.
a loving mother who's never committed a crime, never I go to church. I worked with children. I never did anything. I never even hurt a fly or my child in my life. And I'm on supervised visitation and I can't even get a simple visit with my son, not even a phone call. Come on. What is going on here? This is ridiculous.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. I mean, I can identify with you because I mean, my case, I was in the arrears, and the judge even inflated the arrears by adding an extra 3,000 that she dreamed up that she thought she'd add to it. It's like, are you allowed to do that? Is there a law that you're allowed to tack on 3,000 to the arrears, Judge Elizabeth Kelly? I don't think so.
Yeah, they did the same thing with me in the beginning of my child support case. The reason, okay, there's a bond you have to pay when, okay, you go to JDR, and then when you want to, if you don't agree with a ruling in JDR, you can appeal it, but they make you pay the bond of the amount of money that you don't even owe first. So that's also in my complaint, that
Hmm.
they latch on a 6% interest on top of your arrears to make it unbelievably, like, you feel like you're paying down your arrears, but then you're not really, because the 6% is just raising it. So those parents that don't make a lot of money, they'll never finish paying off their, and then they go and do these weird punishments, take your child's, your driver's license away, take your passport, take your, all these punishments.
Hmm.
But in my case, it was something that I've never earned.
Same.
And then, I'm paying. What for? I mean, I'm paying on something. I don't even see my child, like you said. I don't see my son at all, not even a phone call.
Yeah, that Morgan versus Morgan, I hope does wonders for you and end this. What a disaster.
Not only that, the judge blocked me. I have to ask for something and the Supreme Court to unblock my access to court. Just because I brought up a case of abuse, I'm blocked. And not only that, I did a psychological evaluation that proved that I was a good fit parent. And because the judge and his my ex attorney didn't know the psychologist, they took her order and they did something illegal. They ordered me a new psych, which I already followed the order, and they didn't even give. He doesn't have to do one, only me. A new psych under the terms of the father, the price the father wants, with the GAL's report. So the GALs, there's no oversight on the GALs. They lied in the case. They made up stories. They didn't even look at the best interest of my child.
Right, right.
And so their opinions have to go on my psychological evaluation. So basically, it's a way to block me, right?
Hmm.
It makes no sense. Do you think honest psychologist is going to take opinions of others and put in my psychological evaluation? No psychologist is going to entertain that. I mean, it's just all they've done is weaponize, abused, and just I don't know. It's just there's no words to what happened to me and my son. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous.
I'm so sorry. I hope there will be some justice at some point.
I know. I hope so.
Um, is there is there anything else you'd like to add?
Um, no, I guess the three things is that I hope that these next three cases there is some justice. We'll have to see how those go. Once all those cases are over, I will definitely come back on to finalize my case. And then I guess after that will be if I can eventually reconnect with my son. I mean, I'm hoping that there's going to be some kind of reconnection. But yeah, I just have one more year. Or I mean, well, my son will be 18 in 1 year. Um, but I'm kind of happy that the court situation is coming to an end. It's been a nightmare.
Oh, well, I'm glad you came on to speak out. I hope this gives other parents the strength to speak out. And
Yes,
how,
definitely. I would suggest everybody. Yeah,
yeah,
go
and
ahead.
how can people reach you if they have any questions, or do you want them to come through me?
Well, they can find me on I guess Messenger or um, you know, on my Facebook or
Okay.
I don't know if you want to give them my email. You have my
Okay.
email, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
shout out your email.
Natalia.dalton@gmail.com. Yeah, and if there's any parents that are in Virginia that would love to be part of our groups, we're looking for more parents to join our groups here in Virginia as we fight the injustice system here. And we're trying to pass laws, and we would love more parents to join. We're always looking for new people.
Hmm.
Um, and we've also started court watching, so now we go to each other's trials and stuff. So it's always good to have a pair of eyes, in these courtrooms. So we could be an advocate for you in your case.
Right, right.
um,
And if you see these judges misbehave or treat the litigant bad, then all these court watchers should be writing up complaint forms and sending it to the judicial committee, wherever you send them in Virginia.
exactly. Oh, and also, Maryann, I want to make a note here too that just like you, always fighting. I think even when my case is over, I'm really happy to keep advocating and for changes, and I don't plan on stopping that because I feel that God has led me in that direction to really advocate out there for children and families and other parents that are victims. So I want to keep going forward.
And you will.
Um,
I know you will.
I,
You
I
are a,
remember I remember in high school my when I graduated. Did I tell you the story? I'll tell this really quick and we'll end. Um, what right when I graduated from high school, the I'll never forget this. The person, one of the teachers who did my graduate says, well, and Miss Dalton is going to be a advocate for women, defending women's rights, right?
mm,
But in the reality, I feel like I completed the mission because with my own experience, I'm out there advocating for parents and children and their rights.
mhm.
I think that's kind of cool.
That
It's
is
actually in my
really,
it's in my yearbook. So I guess my teacher saw me when I was in my younger years defending women like when men were abusive or like mistreating them and I was standing there fighting for their rights. So I don't know. I think that's kind of cool.
it is. It is. It totally foretold your future. Ah, well,
Yeah.
hey, God bless you. Natalia, don't jump off, okay? It's Allowed to
Okay,
Get
I
Up is a
won't.
podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, and other platforms I don't know about. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you, Natalia Dalton. You are awesome.